The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Café. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Friends in Recovery podcast, the podcast that is here to help you, a loved one, or a friend get started down the road to recovery. This is the Friends in Recovery podcast, brought to you by the Genesis House. Genesis House, providing a safe, nurturing environment to heal from addiction since 1992. Please be a friend and share our message with a friend on Podbean, iTunes, iHeartRadio, or YouTube. And now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hey, welcome everybody, Friends in Recovery podcast. And we're broadcasting live from the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. I am Mike Miles, the Podfather.
I'm Ed Chionchio. I think we were just discussing some names.
Yep.
I think last week or a couple weeks ago we were discussing some names, and I didn't like them. So I think did John come up with it, or who came up with the name?
I think it was probably Mike or a combination of what, but, Jersey Boy Ed, I like. I like it. It just rolls off the tongue.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I might have a new name, Jersey Boy Ed. I'm from Jersey, and we were tossing around some names because you have a name.
Yep.
Richie has a name. I don't have a name.
Well, you do now.
All right, good.
And we have our good friend John MacDonald here from VAV, and we're going to talk to him in a minute.
Hi, John. Welcome.
Thank you.
We are your Friends in Recovery. Come get sober with us. We can be reached at help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. You can call us at 1-800-989-6504 or friendsinrecoverypodcast.com. Also look for us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to like us and subscribe. That's very important. Please subscribe. We would like to thank the Genesis House for sponsoring Friends in Recovery podcast. We're in our 6th month. Our numbers are good, and this is great. And, of course, back to Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, where our show is live, and what a great place this
Absolutely.
is.
And
it's
the
beautiful.
most important part, Mike, we're helping people. That's what we're doing here at the show. We've been getting emails and people just calling in and just thanking us for, moms and dads helping out with their sons and husbands, wives, kids, daughters, and it's just been the last great 6 months at this show, and hopefully we can get a couple more under our belt too, so a couple more years.
Yeah, that's great.
We're hoping for anyway. At least a couple more months.
A couple more months.
A month at a time. So,
that's right.
So today we got John MacDonald. John and I have been friends for several years, and we belong to a group that John started called the VAV, Veterans Assistant Veterans, and I got to tell you, they do great work and raise a lot of money and help a lot of people. 100% of the proceeds raised by
Veterans Assisting Veterans. Yeah.
Veterans Assistant Veterans goes to veterans. And, I just got to tell you, I get a thrill even talking about it because we had a Welcome Back Vietnam veteran on the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam, the end of the Vietnam War. And it was amazing. It was really amazing that the bands we had and the people we had, and John put it together with. Who helped you with that, John? That was a great.
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, I didn't found it, but I've been with the organization. I started about a year after Dennis Michella, a guy named Bobby Fairbairn, had established it, and I met them on the radio, WCAP.
Right.
When I was on the radio, and we helped promote some stuff. I got involved with the board. Been with it for about 7 years. But when we did our Vietnam veteran concert a couple of years ago, we held it at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. Mm-hmm. And we had John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, and we had several different people that had played. 2 of the members of Boston, because one had passed away.
Yeah.
Sib Haitian had passed away just before the concert, remember?
Exactly.
And died of a heart attack live while performing. And so we had a heck of a concert. My fellow board members, Mike, Kevin Richardson, a number of different guys, Dennis Michella, Joe Machado. We put together this concert, and the idea was that we would welcome home our Vietnam veterans. And the Vietnam vets came, and we had a ceremony before the concert. And approximately 600 Vietnam veterans showed up.
Wow.
And we had a 50th anniversary pin from the Department of Defense that Francisco Urena, the Secretary of Veterans Services, the state of Massachusetts, he arrived, and he's a heck of a good guy.
Absolutely.
He showed up, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the
I can imagine
place.
there wasn't. Absolutely.
It was a very emotional experience. our Vietnam veterans. We all know the story about our Vietnam veterans and how they were treated when they originally came home. Right. And I'm a veteran of Operation Desert Storm, and my story is that when I came home off the plane from Saudi Arabia, the first people to greet me off the plane were Vietnam veterans.
Wow, amazing.
And they were very set on at the time on making sure that no future generation of veterans were treated the way they were. And I have to say, it was a heck of a night. It was an opportunity to thank them, to welcome them home, I think properly. You can never get back those original moments, but you can only try to heal them. And, relative to recovery, there's 22 veterans a day in the United States that commit death by suicide. And the largest percentage of those veterans across the country are, believe it or not, Vietnam veterans. And the reason is that there's such a spike with the Vietnam vets is because they've went through their career, they've worked, ready to retire, or they're in retirement, and all of those symptoms and issues that related to post-traumatic stress disorder are coming back.
Sure.
And
because they're quiet in their mind, they're not doing much, they're not keeping busy, and they didn't treat it throughout the years. I'm sure some alcohol and drugs were involved there.
There's no question.
We
through Veterans Assisting Veterans, we helped to start a program that helps veterans at a place called Ironstone Farm in Andover. And Ironstone Farm helps veterans with PTSD through equine therapy with horses, drug-free, no alcohol. And we don't know why it works, but it works. And we enhance that to the help of another organization in the Lowell, Mass area called the Owl Diner Charities. And we were able to contribute quite a bit of money, $50,000 to Ironstone Farms to also, in addition to help, another group of people we can't thank enough, our first responders, our police, our firefighters, our EMT, our corrections officers, and we're starting, and we've been asked if we can add dispatch as well.
They're front line. We just had a couple guys on a show talking a couple weeks ago about that, and the dispatchers are the first ones to hear everything. The 911 operators, they're saving lives sometimes, so they do get forgotten once in a while.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's a very stressful job situation where you're on the phone literally with the victim. And you're hearing and or experiencing could be some very traumatic things. People think, hey, you're just calling up to report something. No. Sometimes there's somebody you got to walk through
CPR or whatever.
Exactly. Somebody's drowning, or you're going through a hostile shooting situation, or whatever it is, right, live and alive right there. And it's your responsibility to make sure that the proper people respond. And keep them alive and tell them what to do. There's a tremendous amount of training involved. So, and I've come to find out that one of the big things relative to PTSD, and we're going to talk about this tonight when we have a Veterans Assisting Veterans meeting, is that children who have been abused are actually, there's a tremendous amount of PTSD in that community as well. So one of the things that we need to do is we do not, as you guys know, I'm preaching to the choir here, we do not spend enough money, research, or time on mental health in our country. And, here we are in the state, well, we're in New Hampshire, but in the state of Massachusetts and New England, we have one of probably the brightest and greatest medical minds in the country, if not the world. And we need to start concentrating on getting more of those people from these different medical institutions together, because we need cures and effective treatments.
Well, I'm glad you brought up mental health, because people are in recovery from mental health. They're in recovery from gambling. I mean, granted, this show is about friends in recovery. We talk about most of the time drugs and alcohol, but there's other recovery from food, from sex, from process addictions, from mental health, and with, like you said, well, those doctors down just not too far down the street from us, there has to be something done with the behavioral health. It's just the heroin is killing everybody. Our guys are coming back from war, or even just I'm not a veteran, I never served or whatever, but thank you guys. But they're coming back and they're all messed up, and nobody wants to help them. And the VA once in a while, they'll give them some help, but we need a little bit more for these guys.
Well,
there's
no question. It seems that the treatments, and that's probably the best we have come out of the VA. But it's typically, if somebody has a severe case of PTSD, it's drugs being administered to them. They're doped up.
Yeah.
Or if it's not something that requires, or somebody doesn't want to be treated with medication, they offer you solutions like yoga or Tai Chi. To me, those aren't effective means. I mean, they might be helpful in certain situations.
Eventually they will too.
But there's something in the mind that triggers or that needs to be treated. I don't know what it is. We know what the symptoms are. And, we need to come up with effective cures. I'm running for state senate in Massachusetts for the 1st Middlesex District. And one of the things that I want to bring forward that will not cost the state of Massachusetts anything is this PTSD task force. I helped with some friends to put together a task force for pulmonary hypertension. And what it was a task force to create awareness. And what it did was it brought all the professionals in that wanted to contribute their time, that wanted to talk about this. We can do the same thing with PTSD. We can bring in medical experts from Tufts, from this, from that, and talk about mental health and what are the things that they've found. Share information, and let's start the process towards the next phase.
One of our we do a lot of PTSD, and John Lackman down in Genesis House. He is our guy who does all our veterans. He works with the cops, the first responders, and everybody. And something as simple as tap therapy, which he does, is amazing. It's just amazing what he has done with some of these guys in the past with some of the clients that come down to Genesis House, and how he helps them with tap therapy. I mean, it's something simple, something that somebody gets trained on, but it could really almost cure some of this PTSD that's going on, and we don't really look into it. They're busy, running around and doing whatever they're doing. So so I'm glad you're gonna kind of introduce that. And
look at you. I'm running for office. Win or lose, it's something that we need to bring forward. Yeah. I look at public service as a lot different than probably 99.9% of the people that are running for office out there, or the politicians. Is that too many politicians look at public services. How is it going to help them? I look at it as, I want to serve. I want to serve no more than 3 terms. I don't want to be a career politician. I'm not interested in a career in politics. I want to go down to the State House and raise holy hell about issues like that are affecting everyday people. People are struggling to make ends meet. They're struggling to, just really go about their daily lives. And we need to focus on what makes things better for people.
Yes.
And PTSD is something that affects people across the board. We need to concentrate on it. We need to we don't need any more awareness. Everybody knows. All right, everybody knows. All right, jig's up. All right, now what are we going to do?
Yeah, what's the next
What are we going to do?
And
there's so many veterans that we talk about. There's so many veterans through Veterans Assisting Veterans that we run into. Look, we're a small little nonprofit. We raise, at times we've raised some significant dollars, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. There's so much need out there, and there's one thing out there in the veterans community. There are a lot of resources. Nobody knows about them. The awareness isn't there.
They can't get hooked up to
it.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do get calls from people that I've gotten calls in the middle of the night, and they're fortunate enough to answer the phone, and somebody says, that I'm talking to a guy sitting at the bar. I'm with him, and he's a veteran, and he's thinking about committing suicide. So that's why I wear this bracelet. It has the suicide hotline number on it right here.
Okay.
So I know I have it.
Do you want to give that out real quick?
Yeah, it's 800-273-8255, press 1. It's 800-273-8255. Press 1.
And that's for the suicide hotline. That's for veterans only?
That's for veterans, but I think they will take anybody who's in crisis.
And we do have a lot of listeners that were either a veteran that got clean and sober. And, I was just having a discussion today with a friend of mine that I'm sober 24 years, but I get a lot of anxiety now.
Congratulations. Thanks. No, that's a tremendous achievement. It's a tremendous achievement.
Well, we all do it one day at a time. I don't care if you have, 5 months or 25 years. We all thank you though. But and the anxiety creeps up. All kinds of stuff creeps up, and if we don't get a grip on our mental health, especially even being in recovery, we don't get a grip on mental health. Now, I couldn't imagine coming back from, I don't even know what you guys seen over there, let alone, and I never seen any. I was never abused. I never anything in my life. I mean, I drank too much. It's about all I did,
Yeah.
My mom yelled at me and beat me with a wooden spoon once in a while. That was the most of my...
Not enough.
Right. Don't use wire coat hangers.
But I have anxiety now, and it's crazy what these guys don't get, and not a lot of places. I know we are at Genesis House, but not a lot of places are treating for that PTSD. I think treatment centers, behavioral health centers have to kind of step up and do more, definitely for veterans, and even later on in the in recovery or whatever.
Right. I mean, somebody put it to me perfectly a couple of years ago relative to our first responders. They're like, look at veterans. You go through for me, I was in Desert Storm, or somebody might be in Vietnam, and you go through a particular experience, and you come home and you might have PTSD or not due to that experience in your life that was so traumatic, right? But first responders are dealing with these type of traumatic situations sometimes in big cities on a daily basis. Yeah. How could they not have issues? And we have to get past the stigma. Yeah. We have to get past the fact that when these guys are reporting that, I think I have something wrong, or somebody reports it, that they don't get penalized for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we're going to be right back. We are your Friends in Recovery podcast, and we're podcasting live from Studio 21 Podcast Café. I'm Mike Miles, the Podfather, with Jersey Boy Ed and John MacDonald from the VAV. We'll be right back.
Jersey Boy Ed.
Cheers.
Hammer down and check out the Don't Do It Yourself podcast. The Don't Do It Yourself podcast is a weekly podcast where Tommy Two Shoes and No Nonsense Nance sit down with a different specialist every week. If you're tired of unvetted and uninsured contractors charging too much money for not enough quality, you need to check out the Don't Do It Yourself podcast, the Contractors Referral Program. The Don't Do It Yourself podcast is live on YouTube every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. or on demand on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast catcher. Put that hammer down and don't do it yourself. Genesis House is a premier substance abuse and rehabilitation facility located in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. We have been providing the highest quality of addiction treatment since 1992 and are accredited by the Joint Commission. We offer a range of programs that include detox, residential treatment, dual diagnosis, a Christian track for people who want to incorporate their faith into treatment, a uniform services track, and we work with most major insurance carriers. Genesis House is led by a dedicated team of administrative and clinical professionals, and we stand on our commitment to excellence in recovery services. Contact us today to find out more about our program. Take the first step and call Genesis House at 800-737-0933 or visit us on the web at www.genesishouse.net. That's 800-737-0933 or www.genesishouse.net. Begin your journey to a long and successful recovery with Genesis House.
Soul Sessions is an intuitive life coaching service that provides a safe place for everyone to get the guidance they are seeking. Intuitive life coach Shanti Syncere Slade uses her powerful gifts of empathy, spiritual connection, intuition, human experience, and conscious listening to provide a safe place to evolve and shed light on the truth of who we all are, brilliant divine beings. Remembering ourselves as spiritual beings helps us to navigate through the human experience with more gratitude and ease. For more information or to book a free 30-minute telephonic consultation, please visit our website at www.soulsessions.com. That's www.SOEL for Seeing Ourselves Evolve Lovingly, sessions with an S.com. We can all use a little guidance.
Richie Lombardi, the Step Guy, joins us once a month on the second Tuesday, where we plan to get in-depth with each of the 12 steps to recovery. Come get sober with the Friends in Recovery podcast and Rich, the Step Guy, Lombardi, Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to get this and every episode each and every week.
Hey, welcome back to Friends in Recovery Podcast, live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café. And we're here with Jersey Boy Ed.
Oh, boy.
John MacDonald, and I'm the Podfather. Ed, what do you got going over there? Time takes time?
That music means time takes time, guys. And you know what that means. We want to welcome to the Time Takes Time portion of our show, sponsored by the Genesis House. This is where we ask our friends in recovery to email us your sober anniversary so we can celebrate them with you. And congratulations to the following. Haley N., Richmond, Virginia, 1 year back on July 23rd. Sam D., you remember him. He did the show on enabling and interventioning. Sam, we had him on the show, Mike?
Yes, I do.
He's from Richmond, Virginia. He's a past guest, Richmond, Virginia. And
great
9 years back on July 20th. Frank P., Pittsburgh, PA, 7 months. Peter R., Newark, New Jersey, 10 years. And Cindy T., Lowell, Massachusetts, your neck of the woods, 2 years.
Yep, nice.
Hey, I got another one for you.
Go ahead.
Sean B. from Lowell, 2 years.
2 years.
Awesome.
Sean
All right,
B.
Sean.
Good.
Congratulations,
Excellent. Thank you, Sean.
Nice.
And if you would like to celebrate your anniversaries with us, please email us your first name, your last initial, city, state, and anniversary date to help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. That's help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. And if your name is read on the air, we will send you a shirt or a mug. And remember, Time Takes Time, sponsored by the Genesis House. And listen for your name in our upcoming shows.
And now it's time for a Syncere Moment with Shanti Syncere Slade, brought to you by Soul Sessions.
Peace and positive energy, beautiful souls. I am your intuitive life coach, Shanti Syncere Slade, and welcome to another Syncere Moment. Today I want to talk to you about the virtual reality versus the reality that you'd like to see for yourself. Well, we have Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and a load of these other things for us to plug into. My suggestion is to unplug from the matrix. You see, we seek validations from the like button. We seek validations from the love button. Yeah, there's a love button now. So God forbid someone pushes the like button and doesn't push the love button. What does that mean for you now? Well, it means that you should learn how to like yourself, love yourself, be able to live with yourself, validate the brilliance of who you are. Unplug from the matrix and go within. This is another Syncere Moment with Shanti Syncere Slade, and I pray that this helps you. Until the next time, peace.
Well, I got to say.
Boy, oh boy, I got goosebumps on that one, man.
Shanti, if you're listening, and you usually are, I got to tell you, you've added so much to this show.
She did. Yeah, we love her.
And just to our lives.
Yeah.
Ed and I were playing a little golf today, and we were talking about you and your ability and your kind and calm demeanor. And, man, I got to say, this is it's good stuff.
We love her.
So we're back with John MacDonald, and John is a personal friend of mine, and, you know, I know a lot of people that, you know, help people. That's what we do. We're in the help people business. That's what we do as a therapist for 19 years and as a cop 35 years and a vet and a correctional officer, and I did it all. And, you know, I'm still, at 64, I'm still, you know, about helping people. But I got to say, when I joined this VAV, you know, it was an honor to be with guys like Dennis and yourself and you know, Didi O'Brien, you mentioned the Ironstone, and Didi O'Brien is a friend. We go way, way back as kids. And there's a person that just gives and gives, and you know, when you hear her name, you just it's credible. It's you know right away that this is a function that's going to be helping somebody, and you know, just being a part of this is a great thing. Big endeavor taking on running for state senator.
Oh yeah,
I was on the school committee in a small town for 6 years, and you know, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about politics because politics and reality sometimes aren't
two different pages.
They don't run parallel sometimes. But this is a big endeavor, and you know, I know you take it seriously. And I know when you first got into the race, you had an opponent that was probably entrenched and you know, doing a job that everyone liked or whatever. I think it's opened up a little bit more for you, and I'm really happy because you have such a good message, and tell us a little bit about what made you decide to do this, John.
Well, I think it goes back to what you were talking about, helping people. I saw so many things wrong that I looked at in state government, that I feel like the politicians are putting themselves ahead of the people when they give themselves an $18 million a year pay raise. I've gotten into through veterans, assisting veterans, and things like state housing, and the reason why veterans, although they've been made a priority once again, imagine that, they made them a priority once again, that they don't have access to state housing because state housing is full of people that are there illegally and shouldn't be there, so there's no room at the inn, so to speak, and we're spending $2 billion, $2 billion with a B, on illegal alien benefits that are obtained illegally when we have citizens in the state of Massachusetts from all over the world that come here legally, raise their right hand, become naturalized citizens. We're sending the wrong message to the people that do it correctly. We're sending the wrong message to our own citizens that we have an obligation, that are living in homeless shelters, they're living on the river in tents, or they're living in cars, and I find it absolutely unacceptable. So I'm in it to fight for our veterans and our citizens in need. The message has been well received. Controlled state spending and taxes, reform in state government, fighting for veterans and citizens in need. And I'm passionate about helping people and putting people first over the politics. And so I want to go down there and raise holy hell for a couple of years.
Guys, also remember, if we didn't have these two guys fighting for you guys and everybody else out there, we wouldn't have you wouldn't have this. We wouldn't even have this show. We wouldn't have this voice. This would not be a free country. It would not be. We wouldn't be able to talk about all this stuff. And now these guys are getting forgotten about. The guys who gave us this freedom, the guys who gave us everything we're able to do on a daily basis, we forget about them, and it's fucking sad.
It is. And I tell you, it's a passionate outlet for me.
Right.
I almost feel bad when we help somebody. That sounds crazy because I feel so good.
Right.
So I to me, that's my passion. That's what I like getting involved with. And so, I think looking at this seat the right way, which is putting people first and not, oh, geez, who am I going to, how much money am I going to make, or where am I going to, how am I going to elevate my career? No, I believe public service ought to be a temporary stop when you serve down at the State House, and then you get out and you exchange it for someone else with fresh ideas and
I think we're seeing more and more of that too. Just in the last maybe 5 or 6 years, that people are wanting to help people, and it's not about taking the big government paychecks and getting set for life. I think that was in the past generation. I think it's going more. I think you're one of the pioneers that are doing it.
Well, certainly in Massachusetts. Let's face it. You go down to Beacon Hill, and there's a reason why they gave themselves an $18 million a year pay raise, is because they look at politics as a career. I don't look at politics as a career. I look at it as public service. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't be paying politicians a pension.
No.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of good career politicians out there, but I'm not going to be one of them. Yeah. And I don't think it's a trend that we ought to continue. So I'm fighting against that. I'm fighting in the first Middlesex, which represents Lowell, Dunstable, Pepperell, Groton, Tingsboro, and Westford. It's votejohnmacdonald.com. If you like my message, it's votejohnmacdonald.com with M-A-C capital D. And you know what? I'm passionate about it, and I ask people, are you worried about your future? Well, let's do something about it together.
And that's November 6th, I believe, right?
November 6th, yes.
That's when you go out and vote. Well, in Massachusetts, when you're from Massachusetts anyways.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Yeah. And I know this didn't tie in too much with recovery, but it does in a way, because a lot of those veterans that are coming back, the only thing they can, like we were talking about before, the only thing that they can find out is drugs or alcohol to keep them sane.
I can assure you, and from just personal experience. Actually, we have a meeting tonight at 6:00 with the VAV, that 90% of the people we help, excuse me, and I think John would agree, have some type of substance use or abuse problem. When I got out of the Army, I went in the Army in '72 right out of high school. Kevin Richardson and I, we joined together. And I can remember being stationed at Fort Dix, and you could fly home on Sundays if you wore your uniform for like minimal money. But it was so bad when you got on a plane in your uniform that you wouldn't do it. You'd pay the extra money. We made peanuts, but you didn't want to be ridiculed. You didn't want to be looked at.
Spit on.
Yeah, and just imagine someone spitting. I tell you, that's the most insulting thing. Yeah. It's just like when I see somebody burning a flag, and I know everybody has the right to do what they want, but to me, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
I cannot, it's not even about me, it's about the people that have sacrificed, that never came home, that when they did come home, they were in a tin can or a box, and their family has a picture and a flag at their house, and that's all they have left. So when I see somebody doing that, and these are people that are uneducated, when I say uneducated, about what this country's about, it just infuriates me, and I can't imagine being a veteran on a plane, just sacrificed 18 months of my life, saw horrendous things, experienced horrendous things, came home with a head full of problems, being spit on.
Yeah,
just unacceptable.
And taking a knee thing pisses me off too. I mean, listen, those guys are making some big money out there.
Do it on your own time.
Yeah, exactly. This is the reason why you can take a goddamn knee. You know what I mean? There's a reason you should be standing and thanking every guys like you.
I mean, you have every other moment in your life to make a statement.
Do it on your own time.
Don't do it during the time that means so much to so many people. I mean, look at people who protest and want people to be considerate to their emotions and needs and cause. Be cognizant of the fact that national anthem means an awful lot to a lot of people.
I want to know what some of these athletes were doing, especially the football players, before this whole taking a knee started. Were they doing anything for the people in these impoverished communities and neighborhoods that they came from? What were they doing for them? It's so easy to get on TV and look glorified and get down on your knee with your uniform on. Shame on them. Shame on the NFL. Shame on anybody that allows this so they can stay in the locker room. Bullshit. They're getting paid tens of millions of dollars.
Stand up.
And if they wanted to make a statement, why don't they walk out in the middle of a game? That's a statement.
That's a statement.
Okay, that's a statement. If you don't like what's going on in this country, you feel whatever it is you feel. Hey, walk off the field and see what happens.
Yeah, because they're not going to get a paycheck then.
Exactly. Yeah, there's nothing to risk. You know what I mean? When you do the national anthem, put some skin in the game. Put some money behind it.
Well, it's a lot easier.
Real quick, Mike. I know this was a lot about the veterans and everything, but if you're listening out there and you have a dad, a mom, a loved one that is a veteran, pass this show along to them because you may not understand this right now. The young people who may not even understand this, and what does it have to do with recovery? It has a lot to do with recovery. What your purpose, the reason why you're getting out there, the reason why you should vote on November 6th, there's a purpose to it. There's a reason. And please pass this show along to a veteran, someone that or someone that may have PTSD.
Absolutely.
Let them listen to this because there is help out there.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Well, New Jersey Ed, John MacDonald, and the Podfather.
That's right.
Thanks for watching. That's all for today's show. We are your friends in recovery, broadcasting live from the Studio 21 Podcast Café. Sean, the barista's over there.
Hey, Sean.
Right.
Sean, we love you.
Sean, the barista. I got a name now, Sean. I got a name.
Don't forget, you can reach us at help@friendsandrecoverypodcast.com. Our 800 number is 800-989-6504. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to like us and make sure you subscribe. Come get sober with us. We'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Café, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.